Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great to have you on the channel today. Unfortunately, we had major Category 5 Hurricane Melissa make landfall in southwestern and western Jamaica today. You can see it's re-emerging back out into the Caribbean, on its way to Cuba, the southeastern Bahamas. Our thoughts and prayers are with you in Jamaica, Eastern Cuba, and through the Bahamas here. And it's even on its way to Bermuda, unfortunately, here. So we're going to look at this very closely. The storm made landfall with 185 mile per hour sustained winds with a pressure of 892 millibars. We're going to look and see where this is heading, all the impacts in the rest of your tropics, and your forecast. Let's get into it. Looking at the infrared satellite picture here of Jamaica. Yeah, this was quite a historic landfall. Category 5, 185 mile per hour winds. The eye is reemerging out just north of Jamaica here. It's accelerating northeast of Montego Bay here. And unfortunately, you can see that deep convection just continuing here. It's possible the eye could become more well-defined now that it's heading back over open water here. And if we just do a side view, you can see the cloud tops are towering huge here. So this system, yeah, Category 4, well, it's not a 5 now. It's still nothing to mess around with, and as you can see, it's got its eye on Cuba and the southeastern Bahamas here. All right, so we're starting off here with the GFS, and then we'll look at the Euro, the hurricane models, and whatnot here. So, hot off the press here, here's our latest GFS. Unfortunately, the damage isn't over yet. Jamaica was just the first country here, the first island, and it's on its way to Cuba. It's going to make landfall just west of Guantanamo Bay here, and areas between Bayamo and Palmo Soriano here. So watch out. This looks like landfall 5 a.m. on Wednesday morning here, and it's still going to pack a punch. Category 4 expected moving in. And as you can see, we look at, here's the Turks and Caicos over here. Here is the southeastern Bahamas. Let me just pan out just a tad. You can see this is going to be a Category 3 with 115 mile per hour sustained winds by the time we get to, here's the 20. So let's just back this up. This is 5 p.m. on the 29th. So it really is going to start to accelerate here. You can see it's moving pretty much buzzsawing through the southeastern Bahamas. And by the 30th at 5 a.m., it is on its way out. It is accelerating towards Bermuda here. And you can see on the southeast side of Bermuda, the southeast side of the system, Bermuda will get the worst side of the hurricane. Now, granted, it'll be down to a 2, but that's still 100 mile an hour winds. You can see it's kind of merging with this East Coast low, which we'll go over several minutes from now in this video. It does clip southeastern parts of Canada as well. So here's the deal. This is what we got going on for Melissa. And behind it, unfortunately, we have a very vigorous tropical wave that's going to be moving through the Lesser Antilles. This right here through St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent, Guadalupe here. This is right around November 1st. And then towards Puerto Rico, it's really moving at a pretty good clip here. So Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic by November 2nd, that moves to the northwest here towards the Bahamas. And it really does try to develop into something off the southeast coast here, merging with another east coast low as well. So that's going to bring some tropical moisture. And behind it as well, you can see Nicaragua, Honduras. We're going to have this wave really drop some very heavy rain, especially across northern parts of Honduras. And looking at our HWRF hurricane model, here it is moving away from Jamaica. You can actually see just as it was making landfall here on the model, just west of Mandeville here. This is just, west of Alligator Pond here, right near the Black River area. This was just terrible. But you can see it's just a tad east of guidance. If I pan out just a little bit here, this is 11 p.m. Tuesday night, and then 2 a.m. Look at this. It's already on its way to Cuba here and making landfall by 5 a.m. on Wednesday morning. So there it is. It's coming. Please prepare for it. Here's Guantanamo Bay over here. So still an extremely formidable hurricane. The radius just got bigger because it is unraveling a lot of its energy. And when that happens, it has a tendency to expand. And look at this, right through the southeastern Bahamas. Here's the Turks Caicos over here, but there's many Bahama Islands through here as well. And this is right around the 29th. This is 2 p.m. So this is literally Wednesday afternoon. This thing's going to really start to pick up speed as the base of this trough to the northwest along the east coast and southeast coast. There it is. That's the only saving grace. It's going to save you from tremendous rain. You're still going to get a lot of rain, but the wind and surge is going to be there, and that's going to be a major problem. You can see it pushing to the northeast towards Bermuda, still holding on to its intensity to Category 2. And here's our HMON model. This model did pretty well during this storm. Right down the center of guidance here. Here it is, moving right into Cuba. This is 5 a.m. on Wednesday morning. So this is pretty much set in stone at this point. A landfall and then crossing over by 11 a.m. Look at that. It doesn't spend very much time over Cuba. And look at that. It's on its way to the Bahamas by 2 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon. So if you're in these areas of the Bahamas, here's the Turks Caicos over here. I know I keep saying that. There's a lot of the western, northwestern Bahamas. Yeah, there's still some, Clarence Town here. There's areas that are going to get hit by this, and then it's going to be on its way to Bermuda up here. All right, thanks for Tropical Tidbits here for our European model analysis. I do want to make note, if anybody has any good areas, places, organizations to donate to for Jamaica, help in Jamaica, relief efforts, put them in the comments down below. We're all kind of looking for that. There's a lot out there that's not legit, but there's plenty. There's more out there that is legit. So let's do everyone a favor. If anybody hears anything or knows of any, down in the comments section down below, please. So we're going to look at this storm pulling away from Jamaica, as you can see here. Thankfully, it's finally starting to move. That seemed, I can't imagine what you were going through here in Jamaica as that storm made landfall and agonizingly moved at only 7, 8, 9 miles an hour. Because initially, when it was approaching the coastline, it was only 4 or 5 miles an hour forward speed. Now, you can see the European model bringing it right over Eastern Cuba here and just west of Guantanamo Bay here. And then it's actually moving just west of the Turks and Caicos here. So it's still going through parts of the Southeastern and Central Bahamas here. It's being driven, look at this. You can't get much bigger than this kind of trough. This is really carving out. You can actually see there's a squall line moving across much of the Gulf, pushing to the east, and that's going to get this system kicked out of here, thankfully. It's too bad that the trough didn't dig a little bit quicker because it could have moved it quicker and out of the way of Jamaica sooner. But there it is. It's going up there and clipping Bermuda. You can see behind it. I wanted to show you what's going on behind it. I know you don't want to see this, especially if you're in Jamaica, Cuba, or the Southeastern Bahamas. But we're left here with a moisture plume, so to speak, that's left over. And then strong tropical waves moving into the Eastern Caribbean during this time. November 1st into the 2nd, you can see all of this tropical moisture just spinning around here. It's got nowhere to go, unfortunately. And that's going to head westward here. You can see just west of Jamaica. Look it up here into parts of the Gulf as well. And then off the southeast coast. So it's almost like the tropics don't want to die out here. This actually looks interesting up here into the Gulf. Could we actually see something tropical trying to form up here? It would be pretty amazing because the Gulf has barely seen anything this year. So here we go. Look at Nicaragua here. This is by November 4th. So this was showing up on the GFS. It's showing up even more prominently here on the European model. You can see this continuing to propagate towards the northwest. North coast of Honduras, I fear, is going to get deluged here. Look at South Florida through the northern Bahamas. We also have strong tropical waves continuing. Look at this one around. This does not look like early November at all for the tropics. It's almost like it just doesn't want to shut down. And you can see this moisture plume. The only saving grace is we get these troughs every so often that dig down like this. But still, you got a tremendous amount of tropical moisture just hanging out south of Jamaica, right through Honduras, Belize area. Look at those, though. If you're in Cancun, it looks pretty clear by this point, November 10th. But you get the idea. We're going to see these surges, and my concern is one of these tropical waves may try to form into a tropical storm again. That's something we need to be watchful for, because I think we still have plenty of tropical water. Water temperatures are still running well above average here. You can see the last frame here, November 12th. Got that trough digging across the Gulf here, but look at this. We're just lining up the tropical waves here. It's crazy. Wind radius on this system. Here is the tropical storm force winds. This is how big this storm has gotten. And then hurricane force winds here into the yellow. Still tremendous amounts of hurricane force winds. And then you have these major hurricane force winds here in the orange, right around Montego Bay, these areas. I mean, the western part of Jamaica, this is where you really got tremendous wind surge, heavy rainfall. You had it all here. And unfortunately, it was like a buzzsaw here that cut through the western parts of Jamaica. Now, all of Jamaica is pretty much impacted here, but the worst of it, pretty much went right through this region right here. And taking a look at our intensity forecast models here, going to a Category 4, and we'll slowly head towards Category 3 once it gets onto the other side of Cuba. And here we go for sea surface temperature analysis. Yeah, things have cooled a little bit in the North Central Caribbean, down to 2 degrees above average, maybe 2.5, with some of that, upwelling from Melissa. But yeah, Melissa's going to be heading towards still above average. It doesn't start to get below average here until you get towards Bermuda. And here we are for rainfall amounts. Yeah, Melissa's still got a lot of rain to drop here. This is in addition to what's fallen. And this takes us through Melissa, an additional 150 to 250 millimeters. Cuba, you're going to get 400, upwards of 2 to 350 millimeters here through the central and southeastern Bahamas. Watch out. Look at want to talk about the southwestern part of Haiti as well. An additional 300 millimeters here in the extreme southwestern portions. Then we turn our attention to the north coast of Honduras here, and Belize and Nicaragua. Look at this. As we stretch through the first week of November, first and second weekend, we could have some areas approaching 250 to 350 millimeters of rainfall. And we are rainfall amounts here on the GFS, additional rainfall amounts coming in. So here with Melissa, you can see, unfortunately, north central parts of Jamaica, you're getting close to another 150, 200 millimeters easily. Outside of this, the red zones are closer to 60 to 80 millimeters. Look at southeastern parts of Cuba, just west of Guantanamo Bay here. Some of these areas upwards of 400 millimeters through the central and southeastern Bahamas as well. Narrow swath up and through here. And then look at the GFS is a lot more optimistic for southwestern Haiti, the peninsula here, 60 to 90 millimeters more on average. And then as we progress this through time, let's just go all the way through the end of the 2 weeks here. There's that area, Honduras. Yeah, some of these areas could get upwards of 600 to 700 millimeters here. Northeastern parts of Honduras with this tropical wave. So we're going to have to watch this very closely. Look at also into parts of, this is Dominican Republic, right, with a tropical wave on the GFS, upwards of 300 millimeters. Parts of Puerto Rico, St. Croix, 2 to 4 inches. And look into the Eastern Caribbean here. Yeah, it's going to be dry initially. Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Lesser Antilles, you do start to fill in the first week of November here with tropical wave action. Yeah, the tropical wave train does not want to shut down here. Look at parts of the southern Lesser Antilles, Trinidad, Tobago. You could be getting over 100 to 125 millimeters up the island chain as well. The Virgin Islands, yeah, you will see a bit less, 40 to 50 millimeters, but look at St. Croix and parts of Puerto Rico. You could be looking at close to about an inch in some of these locations. Dominican Republic, yeah, you're about 60, 70, 80 millimeters, depending on where you are. Some isolated areas in the western part of the country could get up to 100, 125 millimeters. And here we are in the Eastern Caribbean. Yeah, look at this. This is where we see tropical wave action ensuing here as we get into November 1st, 2nd. You see that surge of moisture, and we're just going to watch that propagate. It's almost like the tropics doesn't realize that it's November, but we're going to continue to get some serious tropical waves here. Some parts of the islands getting 1 to 200 millimeters easily here. And I wanted to show you, thanks to Tropical Tidbits here, Yeah, the dry air is not really entraining into this system as prevalently as, previous model runs have shown. It's still really not, we do get some dry air here, so thankfully that does shut the moisture plume off to Jamaica as we head into Wednesday, it looks like. So you kind of see the idea here right on the southwest corner. We're starting to see that dry air wrap in, but it's not until Thursday here. And then it starts to morph into something more extratropical as we get up towards Bermuda. By then, it's still going to be tropical, though. But you don't start to get the dry air really hammering it here. Now, I just wanted to go further out here, show you, there's going to be some dry air moving into the Eastern Caribbean on the 4th. But look at this moisture plume moving through Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Honduras area. And then we finally start to see some dry air really start to kick in here. Look at Trinidad, Tobago, though. A lot of moisture on November 9th. There are some glimmers of hope here with respect to dry air, but look at the Central American countries. Just lots of moisture here. And here we go for wind shear. So yeah, that's another unfortunate thing that we really didn't see pretty much any wind shear. We're not going to see any wind shear, it looks like, up to landfall in Cuba now too, because look what's happening. You do start to get some wind shear, though, come later Wednesday. Once it gets on the Bahamas side here. See this? This is this area right up and through here. I know it's hard to see because my pencil is also red. But there we go. You start to see on the northern side of this, wind shear does start to take over. But on the extreme southern end, there's absolutely no wind shear. So that's going to help keep this system going. It will help to bring it to something extra tropical by the time Friday. So this thing's really going to start to book it. I want to caution you, though. Look at Saturday. There's almost no wind shear here across the Caribbean. So any of these tropical waves that heads into this area, I mean, like this one right here, this is really concerning. I'm concerned that one of these is going to try to spin up and all the wind shear is locked up way up here across the Gulf. I mean, yeah, we do have some here. They're parts of the Northeast Caribbean islands, but what I'm concerned about is some of these areas here into the Central and Western Caribbean where there's very little wind shear as we head through November 9th here. Now, once we get to November 10th, there are some glimmers of hope here. Look at the wind shear taking over here, Jamaica, Cayman Islands, Northern Caribbean islands. So some of these tropical waves to survive would have to fly pretty far under the radar here. So I think it's safe to say if we can get through the next couple weeks, over to the other side, we'll actually be in a much better spot where some of these tropical waves don't have a chance of spinning up into another tropical storm. All right, so we're going to look at our future radar here, see what's going on. Well, here at the Outer Banks, we're going to have a little bit more rain as we head into the overnight hours as this coastal low pushes to the east. We do have another coastal trying to spin up here just off of North Carolina. Look at this system, though. This has got a cold front moving down in through the Gulf Coast region, and it's going to spin off some areas of low pressure. This is going to be the beginnings of a big East Coast system. Look at this. It's going to bring parts of Ohio, western Pennsylvania, Kentucky, West Virginia, some beneficial rains here. Look at this as we head through 3 a.m. on Thursday morning. You can see things really conglomerating just off of North Carolina here. Squall line getting formed with all of this stratiform rain to the north and west. Look at this. This is a squall line that moves all the way up through eastern North Carolina, Virginia, Delmarva Peninsula, through New York City here. Yeah, this is going to be some convective elements to this. As you can see, look what's going to be happening. It's going to be taking moisture from Hurricane Melissa and shoving it right up the coastline here. Parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Look at all these areas getting some very heavy rains. Fall leaves in Inwood, West Virginia. This past Sunday, October 26th. John sending in his photo here of some fall color starting here. Definitely taking over here in West Virginia. Looks like a nice day to get out there on the open road. Some beautiful blue skies. I can see some cirrus clouds as well. So looking pretty nice out there. Nice captures, John. I can see the color of those fall leaves there. All right, so severe weather. We're actually going to watch for a marginal risk on the Wednesday. Here, the Outer Banks, eastern North Carolina, southeastern Virginia, Virginia Beach area, southern parts of Delmarva Peninsula here. Watch out. Damaging wind, large hail. That's with that moisture, that convective moisture that's moving up along the coast from Hurricane Melissa. Now watch this. Just generalized thunderstorms up the coast. I do think we could see either a marginal or slight risk expand along the coast as we head on into Thursday with that coastal low that actually goes partially inland as well. All right, so we pick up where our future radar left off. You can see that coastal low really, well, I don't know. It's like a double barrel low. You got the secondary or the primary low weakening here over the Ohio Valley, secondary low taking over with moisture from Melissa here through Thursday and then into Friday morning. Here it is, Halloween, October 31st, up into New England. That pulls out pretty much wind and rain pulling up through northern New England there. Now, that sets us up for an all right weekend here. We do have a lake effect response here in the eastern Great Lakes in particular. We get another storm trying to form. Look at the squall line going through the Gulf Coast areas. We'll be watching this closely. This looks like a long duration squall line that'll be moving through the Gulf Coast areas. Look at high pressure really holding on to the northeast here, but look what just starts to spin up again. Another low pressure system. Now, I want to go over to one of our products here and let's see if we can bring up, nope, no snow there. So let's see if there's any snow that could be forming on the back end of this system. Yeah, this is what I wanted to show you. This is right around November 4th. You can see the mountains of West Virginia and then the mountains of New York State up here. Even some of the lower elevations on the back side of this. Look at this. And some of the lake effect streamers away from the lakes, like western Pennsylvania, these areas. So we could be looking at our first snowflakes here. Look at this. This is right around November 5th, next Wednesday. Heavy lake effect snow bands through Binghamton and Ithaca, off of Lake Erie and Ontario. Yeah, and look at this. Snowfall continuing in upstate New York, Pennsylvania area. And then another Alberta clipper moving up through northern New England here. So we'll keep an eye on it. All right, so picking up where our future radar left off with the European run, you can see that run of moisture Thursday into Friday. There it is. Look at that. Lots of convective elements, that secondary or that primary low holding back. And we got that direct connection here with Hurricane Melissa. That moving up through New England. Look at these isobars. You know, between this high pressure building and behind it and this low, look at this wind is going to be howling here. It's going to feel a lot colder than it is. Look at that. Some snowflakes in the higher elevations of the Adirondacks, White and Green Mountains. That pulls away for Sunday, high pressure building in. Watch out. We might have some sort of storm trying to develop some kind of nor'easter type situation here in the Gulf, which is kind of strange. But there you go. Stranger things have happened. You can see, look at that strong, fast-moving flow up here. You can tell where the jet stream is. Some snow showers here into northern New England. Now, as we hit through Wednesday into Thursday, you can see that low-pressure system sliding to the south. We also have this system for Saturday, November 8th. Look at this. This is a big surge of moisture from the Ohio Valley, and we start to have a coastal low trying to come together here. Look, oh, wow. Look at this. Yeah. This could be some hefty rainfall here along the coast up through the interior sections as this low pressure gets cranking up here into New England and just off the coast. So we'll have to watch out here. High pressure building and behind that. Seems like the Euro's going warmer where the GFS is going colder. Looking at the GFS model here, rainfall amount. Look at the Ohio Valley into the northeast there. 1 to 2 inches in many areas. Outer Banks as well. We're going to see another surge next week. Yeah, the GFS is a bit lighter than the Euro is, but you can see, look at this. We're just going to get one right after another. By the all is said and done here through November 9th, look at this. Some parts, wow, this is in the Catskills, Eastern Poconos, Northwestern New Jersey, 4 to 6 inches in some of these areas. Back through Eastern Pennsylvania, Outer Banks, watch out here. Look at Georgia. This is with a lot of these thunderstorm complexes coming down, but you see the average here. It's about 2 to 3 inches. Looking at the European run here for rainfall. Look at that. Yeah, so very similar to the GFS initially. And then we start to get that coastal action just off the coast here as we stretch through, there it is, November 12th. So you get the idea here. Solid 2 to 3 inches across a large area of the eastern part of North America here. before we continue with more weather coverage, don't forget, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone, please. It really does help get the video as well as the word out on this weather situation. Don't forget, question or comment down below. I love to respond and read your questions or comments. Subscribe, bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. I do tropical updates around all year long. I don't quit them come November. I keep them going. Plus, I do winter weather outlooks, severe weather outlooks, and everything. So please subscribe, bell notification button. Let's continue with more weather coverage. And the NAO Index here, look at this. We're very negative right now, but we're going to be heading slightly positive through the rest of November. And here we go through the MJO Index. So we're entering phase 5, and we're going to kind of meander in between phase 5 and 6 for a while. So that means we're going to see some quieter times ahead. We're looking at the upper air pattern here for North America, that strong ridge over Canada. Look at this trough. This is the saving trough for the U.S. East Coast so that Melissa doesn't hit it. Still going to have tremendous wave and riptide action along the U.S. East Coast, but the good news is it's out of here by about the time Saturday into Sunday. So look at this, high pressure building in over the Western Atlantic and the East Coast. We do get some troughiness moving through around the 4th and 5th, but you can see all in all, we're going to see some very deep troughs starting to develop. This one looks pretty interesting. We may be looking at a coastal storm with inland snow right around this time, but it quickly is replaced by a ridge behind it. We're going to get into this really flip-floppy back and forth pattern through mid-November. And looking here into the Western Pacific, yeah, it's pretty clear up here in parts of Shanghai, Seoul, South Korea, Tokyo, Japan, pretty much all of Japan and South Korea here through the next couple days until we get to about Friday the 31st. Look at that big surge of moisture across parts of Japan. Now, I want to draw your attention to this little feature here. There's also another one behind it. We're going to start lining up these systems here. You can see through the November 2nd, 3rd time frame here. Look at the central Philippines start to get targeted by this potential system. Now, this run of the model is not blasting this up into a major typhoon like the previous runs were. Look at up here in Japan. You're just socked in with that synoptic rainfall. But you get the idea here. Here's another one trying to form. This might be a typhoon here by the time November 8th comes along, just east and northeast of the Philippines. And if we look at, rainfall here in the Western Pacific, this is where things get a little crazy. You can see Vietnam area all the way up through the Philippines here, and then we stretch through Japan. This is not tropical related. Look at South Korea, almost no rain. Parts of Japan upwards of 175, 200 millimeters. Look at parts of Taiwan, upwards of 800 millimeters. These are with these tropical waves at this point. So we still have a lot of tropical moisture out here. Northern Vietnam, close to 800. Central Philippines with this tropical wave up to 400. So, yeah. All right, so looking at Canadian weather outlook here, those Pacific systems keep blasting into British Columbia here. We're also looking at a system moving across Saskatchewan, Manitoba area, and another one plowing in come October 31st here. So look at Southeast Canada. This is where we're getting a lot of rain. Some wet snowflakes on the northern and back side of these systems as they plow to the northeast here. Also, British Columbia, plenty of mountain snow. The coastal rain just continues. You know these Pacific systems this time of year. They're getting cranking early this year. Then we get another storm system along the U.S. East Coast. This is November 4th. That's that November 4th system. Quebec could be getting some heavy wet snow here. Look at that. That low really gets bombing across the Canadian Maritimes. Almost probably blizzard conditions here on the backside of this low pressure system as it moves up November 6th into November 7th. Another area. Look at this. We're starting early with snow here. Ottawa, Montreal area with this Alberta Clipper style system moving through New Brunswick and Nova Scotia through the 7th and 8th of November. No rest for the weary on the west coast of Canada here. And here's your liquid equivalent precipitation here on the European model here for Canada. Watch this. So yeah, as we progress through, there it is. West Coast, 200 to 300 millimeter plus, especially along the coast and the mountains, and parts of eastern, just over the Rocky Mountains here as well. Now look at southeastern Canada here. Southeastern parts of Ontario, Quebec here, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland here. Yeah, and up through the Canadian Maritimes. You're going to see some of these areas approach 150 millimeters of liquid equivalent. And let's talk about the frozen side here. We're going to look at snowfall over the next couple weeks. Look at some of these areas along the west coast, over 100 centimeters of snow easily. Northern parts of Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta, you could be looking at some areas down here on the scale, pushing 25 to 30 centimeters through parts of central Ontario, northern Quebec as well. Even parts of southern Ontario and Quebec, you could see a couple centimeters. All right, so your temperatures, yeah, there's going to be a lot of 50s here. Look at even down into the south as we head on into your Wednesday. Watch this for Thursday, October 30th. We even have some 40s in parts of the Appalachians into northern New England here. But we got lots of 50s out here. So watch this into Friday. Look at these 40s. This is going to be the start of a new air mass, and we're going to start to see more 40s here. Watch this as we go through Sunday, November 2nd here. Look at the shot of 40s across the upper Great Lakes here in the Northeast. And that's going to set us up for a very chilly week next week, I think, pretty much into November. We could be looking at some chances of snow. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, Upper Susquehanna, River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania, from Binghamton to Scranton. Look at this. New York. Yeah, it is going to be another frosty, freezing fog morning Wednesday. We still head up towards the mid to upper 50s Thursday. Wednesday night and Thursday, the rain move in. We got that coastal storm rolling up the coast. We could actually see up to an inch or two of rain all the way through Thursday night and into Friday as well. Another rainy day Friday. Saturday, we got a chance of showers into Sunday. Mostly cloudy skies. It will be heading cooler for next week. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease, or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget, it's MeteoMark.com. And don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button, or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.